What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Another Perspective. I kind of just want to hop into it today. And before I do it, I will say, y'all, I have been trying to record this episode multiple times. And I've been sleepy. I'm not going to lie. But I took a break. I got some refreshment. I'm back now in a different energy and in a different headspace. So I think we could probably get it done this time around. So yeah, I want to talk about life. And I know that this podcast is all about life. It's about identity. It's about reality. It's about healing. It's about societal expectations and how we navigate them, right? I want to talk about life, but in a way where it's about restructuring and recalibrating this time around. You know, for a lot of us, we may get to a point in life where we feel like we may need to edit ourselves or edit the environment that we're in, right? And this feeling may come about sometimes without even knowing or understanding why necessarily. You see, for many of us, change happens suddenly and can also feel like it's happening beyond our control. But what about when there's nothing that's necessarily even wrong with our immediate environment or nothing threatening happening, but there's just this intense sense of needing to adjust? And that can be a scary and unsettling feeling because while you don't know what's fully coming next, you just know that where you currently are no longer resonates with you. The best way that I can describe this is it's like outgrowing a version of yourself that existed while still living in it. So how do we navigate that? I want to talk about it, but before I do, I want to talk about my personal experience with that and what it looked like for me. Hopefully, some of these points may reflect a experience you've previously had, are currently having, or maybe you can come back to it if you have it in the future, okay? So, for me, it started as isolation. And when I say isolation, I don't necessarily mean loneliness. I mean it in the way of wanting to be alone, wanting to be in hermit mode, right? Wanting to take a step back and reflect. It also came with me wanting to restructure my space, my workspace, my living space. For some, it might even be wanting to relocate. I haven't had that feeling yet. Kind of, sort of, but not really. In other ways, at least. It was just this intense feeling of wanting different experiences for myself. It also came about in misalignment within my immediate environment, right? So I would not feel like I belonged in certain spaces anymore or around certain individuals anymore. It looked like me genuinely loving and caring for certain individuals, but feeling like I no longer resonated with them. Feeling like our relationships were based more so in proximity rather in depth. And misalignment in my work life as well, with feeling like what I was doing did not reflect my true purpose. It also hit my identity because I started feeling unfamiliar with myself. I had this internal pressure to show up differently, to show up authentically, to take up more space than I usually have in the past. I also felt a shift in what I wanted to consume, whether that was dietary or content wise, what I was doing in my routine, in my schedule. Was it of service to me, or was it hindering me in some way? So all of those experiences were happening, but initially when they were happening, I questioned why. Because I didn't understand it. I just knew it felt off. I will say this has happened to me before. But I noticed this time it's a little more different than in the past. Before, it was more of an internal shift. It was more of me being reflective of my patterns, my emotional responses, the way that I viewed people, and the way that I also viewed myself. But now it seems as though those internal shifts are starting to surface into my reality. So now I am seeing what is worth my energy and what is just not. I'm taking note of where I need to physically balance myself. And my interpretation of why this could be happening is probably deeper than what most would assume. Most people would think that these are signs of someone losing themselves. And I have gotten those questions, but no. Instead, I see it as an invitation to find out who I'm becoming. Okay, think of it like this. Many of us fear the life that exists beyond what we can currently see, despite wanting different for ourselves. Okay? So we limit ourselves through what feels familiar, even if the familiarity is uncomfortable, even if it is unfulfilling, and even if it's keeping us small. Because at least it's known. You don't have to guess about it. It's predictable. But guess what? Restructuring doesn't have to feel like life falling apart. Restructuring can feel like life simply asking you, are you ready to grow? Are you finally ready to grow beyond what feels familiar to you? You cannot ask for expansion and stay attached to what is familiar. So how do we navigate? And I'm going to give you practical answers to this. I promise. You see, at first it's hard to understand the pull away, which makes it harder to trust the transition. So here are some key things that I feel has helped me, and if you're willing to try it out, why not, right? So number 1, honesty. Be honest with yourself. Be honest about what you feel no longer aligns with you. Block out your thoughts of what other people will think. Forget that. This is about you right now in this moment. Now, I'm not saying wake up, quit your job with no plan behind it or nothing like that. And I'm not saying wake up, cut everybody off, especially if it doesn't feel like the sensible thing to do. Because maybe it's not getting rid of everybody. Maybe it's just the dynamic looking different. Putting some distance, putting some boundaries. What I'm ultimately saying is be intentional, right? Follow through on what feels right. And be honest about what healthy distance needs to look like for you in order for you to grow, in order for you to explore different. Growth does not have to be drastic. It can look like boundaries. It can look like a pause. It can look like choosing yourself without choosing to feel guilty behind choosing yourself. That's the kind of honesty that will make it easier for you to transition your life, your identity, who you are. Secondly, embrace solitude and exploration. Instead of trying to force your way out of what you're feeling in that moment, instead of trying to escape it and run from it, lean into it. Okay? Be curious. Explore who you can be outside of certain environments and away from your usual influences. But do this in a healthy way. Don't use isolation as an excuse to be harmful towards yourself. Find some leveling in that. Right? Find a way to ground yourself. Find a way to center yourself, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through exercise. Go on solo dates. Do something different. Some of us are so used to just going out with people. Go somewhere by yourself. Experience that. Allow yourself to learn new hobbies. Allow yourself to gain new interests. Solitude does not have to be punishment. Use it as a space for clarity. Because when you remove the noise, you finally get to hear yourself again. Lastly, third, act. Take action. Integrate your curiosities and your awareness into intentional and structured action. This means create a plan and follow through with it. Do this despite any fear, any doubt. Do things you wouldn't normally do. Embrace the discomfort. This is what ultimately bridges the gap between dreams and reality. This might look like taking up more space. This might look like setting more boundaries. This may look like being intentional about the people and spaces you choose to stay connected to. Give yourself permission to transition into new environments. Give yourself permission to take new opportunities. Allow yourself to be visible in spaces that you normally wouldn't allow yourself to be visible in. Or you might avoid being visible in. This is how you create a different life for yourself. Growth can not only be internal, it has to reflect on the outside. Do not wait to feel ready. Because confidence, it usually comes after movement, not before it. You do not need all the answers to start. Sometimes all it takes is you being open and responding with the knowledge that you already have, while also being receptive to learning along the way. You cannot ask for expansion and still make decisions from a space of fear or from familiarity. So with all of this in mind, if you feel the pull to step away from everything you already know to be familiar, it's likely for a greater reason. Consider it your soul calling you to align with the life that you are destined to live. Lastly, and I'll leave off with this note to my loved ones. For any of y'all that may be watching this episode this time around, the purpose of this show is for me to show up as raw and as unfiltered as I possibly can in relation to anyone who resonates with any of the topics that I speak about. So for anyone who was once close to me, as I've likely said before, individually. This isn't personal. I think that we'll all get to a point in life where we feel like we need to shift in our environment, in what we identify with, in our identity, in our mindset. And I think it's best to just lean into it. I'll see y'all next episode. Thank y'all for tapping in with me. As always, peace and love. This has been another perspective. Take care.